Welcome, everybody, to Picks and Bones. This is your host, Eric. I'm bringing you the best in Americana, red dirt, black dirt, Carolina clay, good old rock and roll. Today, we're going to actually go a different route. We're going jazz fusion. Yep, you heard me. I said we're going jazz fusion with none other than Marbin. Dani Rabin from Marbin. Here he goes. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Doing great.
So I guess I need to tell the Marbin story. So for those of you who hear jazz fusion and are about to turn this off, don't do it. We're not a typical jazz. You see, our style got destroyed in the 80s by people wearing Hawaii shirts and calculator watches.
That's so true.
Just ran us to the ground. But there was a spirit there, I think, when jazz got electrified in the 70s, where people were just trying to play the shit out of their instruments and use electric instruments, like the electric guitar, electric bass. And the synth just came and destroyed our music. Lots of cocaine in studios made people make bad decisions. Bass drums became huge in mixes. And people used pads.
Yeah. Well, I think so many people
got horrible.
I think so. They tried to make it more pop.
They tried. They really. You know what I think it is? I think it's. I think it's private money as opposed to public money as opposed to free market. That's what killed that style of music. I think what happened was jazz musicians tried to. This is a really weird way to start, by the way, but I'm gonna continue.
No, keep going.
Jazz musicians tried to get into public funding the same way classical musicians were. They were trying to get NGOs to sponsor them. They were trying to get donors and the government to give them money, and they were succeeding. And fusion musicians didn't know how to get into that, right? So like the Marsalis family, like all these people that were doing traditional jazz were all of a sudden tapping into like Lincoln Center, all this amazing amounts of money, just not from selling tickets or selling records. And fusion people just didn't know what to do to get money. So they tried to go very pop, very the same sounds as like 80s metal and just Gloria Estefan. It's weird. It's like the same kind of keyboard sounds.
Now, there is one fusion band that I always dug though, Spyrogyra.
Yeah. But that's smooth as fuck, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, you had to be, back when I was really listening to them and when they first came out, we were all herbally enhanced because that's the only way you can truly listen and digest that music is you got to be high as hell.
Yeah. Or like trying to get laid. This is like having sex music. It's literally the music they used in porn. It's not like stuff that sounds like Spyrogyra. It is Spyrogyra.
Yeah.
Right? Like Debbie Does Dallas soundtrack.
That's awesome.
They originate.
We're probably the only people that will go jazz fusion to porn in 3 seconds. I love it.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's what we do. I mean, I think if you even attempt to play our music for most females, all sex talk is shut. Women do not. I mean, we have a lot of female fans now, but it's not. There's something pretty masculine about people trying to just solo their asses off and not.
Well, and you guys
the soft route of this music.
And I think another thing that I will say to the listeners tuning into this, yeah, like you said, just because you heard jazz fusion doesn't mean that you are not going to get your socks rocked off. Because you guys add a lot of the heavier instrumentation that is outside of the norm for a jazz fusion band. I mean, you got heavy drums. It's not like you're in that smoky old, dive bar where, the guy's playing just a snare with, the brushes. Right. And, the guy's over here with his stand up, and he's sipping on his scotch and bourbon and,
No, it's not that vibe. It's more like a rock band. But for people who don't know the band, Marbin, the name Marbin comes from Markovich Rabin. That's me and the saxophone player's last name combined. we're both from Israel. We met in 2007. We moved to Chicago from Israel in 2008. We started Marbin pretty much right away. 2009 was our first album. After we made our second album, 2011, we started touring full time. And we're still touring full time. Full time means 200 to 300 days a year. And we've just been playing every small town market in the States since then. Like, just, driving and playing and driving and playing. And I, it's weird to call it, I mean, it is jazz fusion, but, if you just kind of strip away the titles and ask yourself what it is that we do, is we just write instrumental songs that are the best songs we can come up with, and then we improvise on them and we solo on them with the kinds of sounds that we like. So, obviously saxophone is, saxophone gives it that jazz vibe, but it's electric bass. I play with a rock sound, so definitely coming more from the rock guitar school, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck, people like that are up there for me. But, also the jazz is in there and the drums are rocking and the bass is electric. So it's definitely a rock band texture, but that's what gives it that jazz rock thing.
Oh, absolutely. How did you get your start in music?
For me, it was really, I went to a Metallica concert when I was like, when I was like 14 or 13 or something, when they came to Israel. And I wasn't like a metalhead before. I was just like a kid. I was wearing like my normal kid shirt, my kid clothes, and I didn't know anything about it. And I just showed up. It was like, they came, and there's tens of thousands of people there in a country of like 6 million at the time. So it's like a big percentage of the country was there, and I was just looking around. I was like the only one that didn't get the memo about the dress code. Like, everybody was wearing black. And like, I was just in my like little kid clothes, like looking around like, shit, I want to be a part of this. So like the next day I went to the record store in the town I grew up in, and I just bought the t-shirts. I bought like a stack of Metallica and Iron Maiden and I'd never heard Iron Maiden or Pantera before. I just bought all the black t-shirts with like gory shit I could find, because the fashion was like, I wanted to belong to that. And the guy that was like behind the counter selling me the t-shirts was like, it's not about like, you gotta listen to the music. It's not, you can't just buy the clothes. It's like, these bands, and like, he was picking up my energy, and he was like telling me about the, I was like, all right, I guess I'll buy some albums too, so I had the clothes, and I made the group of friends that was all dressing the same, and I started listening to the music. And, I found myself very quickly fast forwarding through the songs to the guitar solos, just like I would like, if you remember like what, I would have like this intuition, like fast forward to like minutes, like to 226 or something like that area in the song. Where the
because that's typically where they're going to bring in that just heavy rocking Kurt Hammett dual guitars. If it's right, if you're going Iron Maiden, you got the dual solos. Yeah.
Exactly. So I wanted to get some of that, and there was something about the guitar solos that spoke to me early on, and the sound of them. And then it was kind of a progression of listening to better and better players, because in my mind, that's how it works. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I always compare things. So I heard Kirk Hammett, then I heard Marty Friedman. It's like, oh, okay, like that was clearly better, right? And then, like, for me at least, and then it went from there to like listening to the Shredder guys. So I went into like Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai and Greg Howe and Joe Satriani and that. And then after a while, I started, I still wanted that guitar sound, but now I could let go of a little bit of the rock. So it was, Mike Stern and Scott Henderson and John Schofield and Alan Holdsworth, people that still played with that distorted rock sound, but really scaling back a decade, going
Mm-hmm.
to the early 80s, late 70s. And it went backwards and backwards, but always like, guitar centric until way later on, and it's weird. And the truth is, like, when you're really a student of your instrument and a student of recordings, there's only 100 years of recorded music,
Yeah.
so there's only so far you can go back, when you're actually trying to figure out how people have soloed and improvised. And, a big thing in jazz that people forget to talk about is how jazz and technology are intertwined, because the only way to make improvisation be able to, to be an art form that can survive is only if you record it, right? Like, there's all these talk about these classical dudes being badass motherfuckers at improvising, but nobody knows how they improvise, because the only things that survives is what they wrote down. So you can't really capture that kind of shade and what somebody's doing. But as soon as you have a Louis Armstrong kind of putting all that grease in the note, and like, really you can hear the attitude going into onto the tape, then you can take it and, kind of make it evolve, like generation to generation, kind of take the way Dimebag plays guitar and, put it as a part of yourself, because you can understand it not just, at the note value and rhythmic aspect, which survives on paper, but also the sound color, also the articulation can survive, the attitude.
Well, and you can really feel, you can feel when you're listening to music when somebody is just taking off on their own, and they're like, that was never meant to be a part of that song,
Mm-hmm.
but it goes with that song. Like you said,
Yeah.
like a Louis Armstrong or Dizzy Gillespie, when those guys would get in there and just start hammering down, you're just like, oh wow, this is incredible. This is actually
Right.
taking musicianship to another level.
Yeah.
I was actually talking with
absolutely.
a guitarist the other night. I'd gone to see a local band. Their guitarist is from Trinidad, Tobago, and they're kind of in between sets and everything. And he just starts playing. He starts playing classical gas. And I went over there and I said, "Okay, this is the first time I've ever gone out to a rock show, and the guitarist playing classical gas." And he goes, "Well, you're the first person to walk up and know what the hell I'm doing." And I told him, I said, I came up on Andre Segovia. I said, that's who I'm, when I first started playing guitar, I said, now I am no Andre Segovia, but that was, at the time, that was the pinnacle.
Oh yeah.
You're talking, set mid 70s and everything. When you picked up a guitar, that's who you wanted to play like, because, I mean, if you've ever played anybody out there listening, if you've never tried to play a classical guitar, you've got an extra inch of fretboard that you're playing on with nylon strings, and everything is finger pick in different styles with arpeggios, and it's incredible, because then you pick up a standard tune, a regular guitar, an electric, and my God, how fast you can play. After learning,
Well, I mean,
one of those.
some people really are badasses. It's that thing. I was just we were getting stoned in a hotel room and listening to me and Danny like last late night, like we were on tour, and listening to like we went on a classical guitar rabbit hole on our phones, and like we were listening to John Williams,
Oh yeah,
the British dude. just shredding, man. Just so, and then to Paco de Lucia, which is like flamenco, but also on the same instrument. And that's the real interesting thing, especially with classical music, because you have a guy like Julian Breen, who's like, student of Segovia, and how your character at the end, when you're listening deeply, like the kind of person you are, like, just comes across so much, no matter what. If you're playing a piece, something that somebody else wrote, it's like that attitude you're putting forward, the face you put on it, right?
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
People always see you. That's the thing that, like, a student of music and a student of guitar that is not fully developed doesn't understand. That it's like, in your mind, it's fragmented. You have your Stevie Ray Vaughan moment, your Segovia moment, your classical gas moment, you're all this, but like when you're putting music out, people are reacting to you. You are that source that they're seeing.
You're
right?
the catalyst.
Yeah, but it's like, it's like that. It's beyond that. It's like it's taking the shape of your character. And it doesn't matter how many compartments you imagine are in there. To the person observing, it's just coming out of you, and they're judging you, right? It's like you are on the scale of 0 to 10, same way Segovia is, just a dude with an instrument. And you can make a mountain of these people in your mind, but at the end of the day, you got to just kind of integrate all of these kind of voices into something inside of you, and then kind of find who you are and shoot that out.
And I think it's harder to be an instrumentalist than it is to actually play with, where you have vocals and everything else, because that is your standalone. That is your voice. That's what you're carrying out. It's even like going back to, if you've ever seen any of the old tapings and everything of Segovia playing, you absolutely see the passion on his face for what he is doing. And I think that's what is so, and I'm not, I make my living interviewing people with bands that sing, but it doesn't, you're taking me back to you're bringing the whole passion back into this, because to be an instrumentalist, you are literally you're focusing your passion, and that's coming through on one thing that you have to, your music and your vocals are exactly the same thing that you're presenting to the world. And you're saying, here, this is what I have to offer you. And at least that's the way I've always seen instrumentalists, because, it's a lot harder. Because
I don't know if it's harder. I think any performance that's really worth your time, like whether it's Zeppelin or Segovia or like anybody, a good question would be like, what's the appropriate place for your consciousness to be while you're playing? Should you be in autopilot? Should you just sing the song you've sang a million times, or should you be manning the vessel? Right. And I think that thing you're calling the passion, the love, is just seeing at somebody like absolutely present, and just like really in there, making choices, making that, like moving the fingers, making the phrases come to life. And I think you see the same thing when you like watch like a Led Zeppelin concert when they're really on, it's like that, or that good Beatles performance, they're just, when people are so, in the moment, right? Just like, when I say, I don't mean that in like the cliche, like, yoga chick way. Like, like the way that those bitches know nothing about, like just same way, like, when a fucking good carpenter is like making the shit out of a chair, just making the right decisions with the material and just being careful. I think that's what it is. Careful. You just gotta like,
well, if you, I was in construction, and I've worked with making some furniture and stuff. It's almost, and anybody that does that for solely as a living will tell you that it actually, if you're being on the creative side, not the guys that are just slapping up 2x4s to build a house, but if you're on that creative side where you're building something custom, furniture or whatever, most of those guys, they're craftsmen for one, And maybe that's the word we're looking for. You're a craftsman of that music. But they're going to tell you it speaks to you. You know,
Oh yeah.
it tells you what, what form to make this. And it almost,
Sure.
he said, the wood almost will tell you this is what I need to end up becoming.
Yeah.
Just like your guitar, when it gets in your hands, it's telling, you're just you're the vessel.
Yeah. Well, I think people that don't have skills and that don't understand craftsmanship, when you say a word like careful, they take it to the place of being scared of air, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like being careful means don't cut your finger off. But what happens if you have enough skill to know you're not going to cut your finger off and to know what you're doing? What does careful translate into there? Focus, and I think it's that focus that we're looking for, and it's that it's watching somebody who is skillful and focused and just cold, like when you watch Stevie Ray Vaughan play or something, he's not going to hit a clam, it's like he's done, that he's not going to make a mistake, but you're still you're not watching to see him walk a tightrope of not falling. It's like, what's he gonna do?
Right? How far can he take this?
Exactly, and it's that thing that's like the exciting part, where you trust somebody's skill, but you don't have the vision, and he does, and you just want to see it kind of unfold.
And and that adds so much more, because you can pick up the nuances of somebody playing like that, because and like any other music, he never played anything the same way twice,
right?
I mean,
well, that's really the reason you go out to see music. Hopefully that something like that happens. That's the inspiring bit.
Well, and I'm the guy that I want to hear. I'm the guy that.
We're back.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm the guy that wants to hear. I want to hear that raw. I'm a big fan of live music to begin with, because live music allows you to hear things a whole different way than recorded. Recorded, yes, it's fine tuned. It's mixed, it's engineered, and it's gone through the whole process to specifically sound as clean and as close to what that specific artist deems perfect. But a live performance changes everything, because I mean, you have that artistic freedom to, hey, you might, and everybody misses a note at some point in their life, but it's the fact that it's a little rawer, it's a little more gritty. You can, and that's where I find I enjoy things the most, because you're in a real moment experiencing, what this artist is putting out there, because, we should all aim for the experience, not just, oh, I'm at another show. La-di-da. But if you go with the mindset of, holy shit, what they just did.
Yeah, I mean, I think recording itself is like, obviously everybody who's alive now grew up on recordings, and recordings are a huge part of how we know the music we like. But if you think about what that technology did for the worse, right? It did things for the better, but there's something that we do in our band that's completely atypical now. I don't know really a single band that does it this way. It's that we go out on the road we write material, we go out for about a year, and then we make a record, right? Most bands do the opposite. They write the music, they make a record, and they go on tour to promote it. Our idea is that we don't want to go in the studio with music we haven't played a million times, right? Even though we're improvising a lot in the songs, I want to be so familiar with it. And, our last record, Strong Thing, we put out this year, it was 10 hours in the studio. There was nothing to do, right? We just went in, we played, we went out, it was ready. Just a little bit of editing, a little bit of mixing, but, we just knew we've played these songs like hundreds of times. We could do it really in our sleep. It wasn't a challenge in those terms. Kind of, they took shape already. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that people do now is skip the playing part. And it's really when you think about the word records, to keep records, right? Not like records, but like actual files. Mm-hmm. That's where it comes from. It's supposed to record something that happened at some point. But now it's all fantasy. Like, it's music that never happened. It's going straight from your head to Pro Tools, and you're skipping that part of letting it take shape in the world, seeing what works and doesn't work. And I think that's a shame. You can really clearly see, like, Elvis songs or Johnny Cash songs. He sang those fuckers for a long time before he recorded them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They made rounds in the world. You can see that those are the kind of songs that went into people. Like when you listen to Hank Williams stuff, it's like recording was really like putting that final seal on it of like, okay, now it's tested and ready for the public. But
now we can release it. Now we realize what works, what doesn't work.
Exactly.
What elicits a emotional or physical response from the audience.
Exactly. And I think that's going away from the world. And also, there's a weird thing happening with, and that took me a long time to understand because I grew up, obviously, a child of the 80s. So I grew up with like music that's all perfect, but this is the thing about perfection. We really use this word as if it's synonymous, perfection, as if it's synonymous with accuracy, mm-hmm. But what we really get when we edit things is the ability to make things cleaner. But, if you take all the bacteria off a human being, he dies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, so cleaner isn't perfect.
You're kind of stripping away the soul of it.
Yeah. You're even stripping away the beauty. It's like if you take all the shape out of something, right? It's like you're cutting a lot of good with the bad.
Well, and there is perfection to be found in imperfection.
Yeah, but I think there's only perfection to be found in imperfection. I think if you clean something up too much, we get that Japanese sound where it's just like 2 in time, 2 in tune. Sounds like national radio, right? Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's like that thing, and it makes music disposable. The shelf life of a Bach song is hundreds of years. The shelf life of a Zeppelin song is dozens of years, and the shelf life of a Taylor Swift song is like a month, right?
So what should be less?
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
but
folks.
Yeah, it's like no, I hate that shit too. It's but why is that happening? And I think it has to do with the tuning stuff, but mostly with the time. And I think metronomes and the fact that, when any musician now practices with a metronome, right? And practicing with a metronome is very important. I think it's a great tool to increase your performance. But this is the thing. When you're playing with a drummer, there's just you and the drummer. And time is a compromise between like how two people feel the passage of time. Mm-hmm. Right? And some people have a great sense of time passing, like you hang out with your buddy, you're both drinking and smoking, and then it's like, it's been 3 minutes. You're like, how do you know that? That's amazing. Right? It's like, I'm like this. So, some people have this kind of notion of time passing, like they can feel it steady. And our drummer now has very good time. It's like he doesn't really slow up or slow down or speed up. And that's the kind of, but you want human time. There's some sort of like we respond to very slight fluctuation, but this thing of like being absolutely metronomic is only good when you're obsessed with inputting your music into a machine. That's what you're really doing.
If you're a symphony, because symphonic has to be, and granted there are time changes.
Well, but the symphonic, they have a conductor, they have human time.
Yeah,
Think about like what happened between the invention between symphonic music and the invention of the drum set, right? And about the treatment of time itself in classical music. time used to be a vile kind of thing, something that we wanted to hide. You had a person that was facing his back to the audience. It was just kind of gesturing time, and it wasn't supposed to be heard. Like, the idea is to create a flow and hide that mechanical beating. And now with rock, we put that metronome up front and center. Like, a drum set is a weird fucking instrument. I keep thinking that every time we make a record. It's like, why do we have a guy playing 4 limbs of drums that are half the time making notes that are out of tune with the rest of the song? Like, the drum is clearly playing an E flat, the bass guitar is playing an E. It sounds fucking weird, and we're all ignoring that it's happening. Like, it's like mass hypnosis. It's a weird instrument. I mean, it's like, it's beating time into your brain, right? And I mean, I accept it now. It's like, that's a part of my music. It's a part of everybody's music. But it's okay to, like, look at something as common as that and say that's psychotic that it's in every song, right?
Yeah, and where did that come from to make it like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, how do we all accept it, right?
Yeah.
But we need that power. We need that drive. We've all decided that, like, every song we have, we don't want to just kind of listen to it flowing freely. We want to know where 2 and 4 is. Like, well,
Yeah.
that's somehow important. That's such a limiting part. Like, 200 years ago, there's not like one Beethoven thing that has a backbeat.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
absolutely true.
It's bizarro shit, that we all just accept. But I mean, taking it to the next level and just like quantizing it and making it just like absolute in where it's placed. I mean, I guess it's where the next generation is taking it. It's where music of the, I don't know, the next 100 years is going for sure. EDM, there's no more margin of pocket.
And see,
right?
That really hurts my soul. that people are going to look back and think EDM was a viable music force. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I realize every music has its place and it's going to have their fan base. But it's kind of my same issue that I have with so many of the rap and hip hop artists right now. If you're not actually playing the music yourself and you don't have a live band and everything is digital and electronic, you've completely stripped everything that it takes to be a true musician out of it.
Sure.
Yeah, you can be a skilled engineer or a DJ and you're spinning shit and you're going to make people happy with whatever the hell you're putting out there, because there's an audience for everything. But it's when, if you're up there and you're actually, this artist is playing a guitar and singing, or, you've got, even with some of the rappers, if they've got a live band backing them up and it's not all this electronic shit, I'm going to respect that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to...
Well, yeah, but...
maybe it's just musicianship integrity.
Well, I think what it is, every generation has the right to shit on the next one.
Right.
For destroying their art forms. It's like, probably Bach going to like Mozart was like, if you don't write fugues with 4 voices, you're a piece of shit. And then Mozart into Stravinsky, if you don't stay within harmonic restrictions and play all this dissonant shit, it's like you're a piece of shit. And then that into jazz, it's like if you just improvise on our forms, you're a piece of shit. And jazz into rock, it's like if you don't improvise, you're stripping the soul out of music. And now rock into electronic music, if you don't play your instrument, it's like everybody. The amazing thing is like I can't imagine the EDM people getting together and like talking shit about whatever their kids make.
Oh yeah,
just like how bad is it gonna get?
Because they're gonna be like, what are they playing at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't sit behind a computer and you're creating a drum beat, and here I'm gonna use this synthesizer, and then I'm gonna put it all on continuous loop. And
my guess is that it has to go to the computer generating the music, taking the human completely out of it. Writing like AI that writes the tunes. And then
that hurts my soul a little bit, my heart.
that if I had to see the future and the big battle that the generation of EDM, because they're what they're really doing is they're creating this reality where the human is slowly being taken out of the equation. So if you have the machine making the composer's decision, that'll be the place to go in the next battle, and then you'd have some people just sitting there and listening to it. And I guess the only place it could go after that is if they have machines listening to the music too.
It's Skynet, man. Terminator is real. Terminator is real. John Connor, we need you.
Yeah. John Connor, come back and shoot Taylor Swift.
All right, Danny. I know, we're pushing on time. We're going to jump into the bare bones of things.
Sure.
So I have some questions for you. What is your favorite guitar to play?
I have two. One of them is an Eastman DM2 Django Reinhardt acoustic guitar that I play all the time, and then the one I play in Marbin is a Suhr SUHR Antique, which is the main guitar I used in Marbin for the last like 4 records. It's a Strat with single coils.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, what is a band that you're really into right now?
I like Django Reinhardt a lot. Like right now, that's alive. All my heroes are dead.
Or whoever you, there's, it's a musician that you're really, right now you're listening to a lot of their stuff.
Charlie Parker, Django Reinhardt would be my top 2 right now.
Okay. What is your all-time favorite book?
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Great book. You were the first person to bring that one up, too.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm twisting this one for you because I've had so many people asking me to throw this on there. Indica or sativa?
Indica.
Okay. What was the first record you ever bought for yourself? Or picked out for someone to buy you?
No. It was the first one. Well, the first one I stole. I went to the record store and stole it at random. It was the Jaco Pastorius birthday concert. Totally at random. Like before I even was into music. And I hated it. But I had it.
There you go. Okay, what was the first concert?
Well, my parents took me to a lot of classical music as a child, but that Metallica one was the first one that I voluntarily put myself through.
Okay. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Very good answer, sir. Okay, this is a 2-part question.
Sure.
Everybody has a jam song that doesn't matter how many times you've heard it, that your volume's going up and you're just throwing yourself into it, enjoying it. On the converse of that, what is your guilty pleasure song? You hate the fact that you love that damn thing so much.
Ooh. It's hard for me. I hate a lot of music. Like it's really like
Well, not that you hate. I mean, this is one that you love, but you hate that you love it.
Love it. I hate it. I love it. Yeah.
Or that you would if people found out, they might be a little ashamed.
Yeah. I hate hip hop, but I love like some of the that first NWA record. It just makes me giggle.
I love old school hip hop. Do not get me wrong.
I like Straight Outta Compton.
Oh yeah,
a bitch is a bitch. Come on,
yeah.
Gangsta. It's just funny. They're hilarious. But yeah,
it's just real. Okay, so what's that song that every time you hear it, you're gonna crank it up and you're just
I like 8 Ball. Like a bitch is a bitch. I like a bitch is a bitch. It just makes me giggle. It's hilarious.
Okay, love it. Okay, a person, living or dead, that you would like to have taken the stage with?
Django Reinhardt.
Okay. What is your life mantra?
Well, I like, there's a Leonard Cohen saying that's built on like Hebrew or it's modeled after like Jewish philosophy, and it says that it goes, act the way you want to be, and soon enough you will be the way you act.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, besides yourself and your band, who is a band or two that people should really be paying attention to and checking out?
Nah, absolutely nobody. You should exclusively listen to Marbin.
Okay. If you had a spirit animal, what would it be and why?
Oof, I don't know why. The rhinoceros just jumped into my mind, and I have no idea why. But I'm choosing the rhinoceros.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Would you like to give any shout outs?
No.
Just, I have nobody to thank. You can all go to hell, but buy our fucking music.
It's like, we don't do thank yous on CDs.
Okay.
It's just like, I know myself. I know people. Like, the only people listening for shout outs are the people you're shouting to.
Exactly. And they just want to hear it.
It's like, I don't want to zone the listeners out.
There you go.
Like, thank you, Jane Smith. And also, John Smith, you're great.
Like hell with the rest of the guys in the band.
John and Jane Doe.
Yeah. I have enjoyed our discussion and our conversation today so much, Dani.
Hey, me too.
Thanks for coming on. And you guys are actually going to be. Where can people find you on the social medias?
Oh yeah, we're at facebook.com/Marbin Music. That's MARBIN. You can go to marbinmusic.bandcamp.com to get the music, vinyl, shirts, all that stuff. All the tour dates are at bandsintown.com/Marbin. And our first 7 albums are up on Spotify. Our latest one, Strong Thing, is not yet because we're still making money selling that one to people. But you can get it on Bandcamp.
Right on. And you're going to be at Tribbles back here in lovely South Carolina. What is that, April, right?
Yeah, sometime.
Okay.
I should have probably memorized that.
I should have probably memorized that too. And
it's on Bandsintown.
Okay, and so if you're anywhere local and you can hear me within like a 3-hour driving distance, you need to make plans to come out for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a hell of a party.
Yeah.
To be honest, guys.
We've been there before, and we had the dry run with like no people, so we're really looking forward to the second time with people. We're ready.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more people out there. Yeah, there'll be a lot more people out there. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on. Be good to one another, and I will see you next week.